Well, I keep meaning to make videos, but I've been so busy that it's always tough to find time. But I completed a cool project, and it's one that a number of people have been asking to find out what the outcome was. And this was a watch that was sent in by a guy who was a dive master, dive instructor. Some of you may remember, and he had bought his own watch, and but he had lost it on a dive, a training dive when he was running people through in Canada for the Canadian military. And so he lost his watch, and then a whole season went by, and the next season started, and one of his students, a year later, came up from the bottom from one of their regular training spots and said, "Hey, I found a watch." And my customer, this instructor, said, "It's mine." And the guy was like, "Come on, how do you know that it's yours?" And he said, "Well, it's got, look on the case back." And on the case back, it had the fella's name inscribed. And so it was his. The watch was still running. It had been underwater in the ocean, in the sand, for a year, and it was still running. So it came here, and I was amazed to see the condition that it was in, despite everything. It had some interesting challenges, but we'll talk about that, because it's all done. And there it is. There it is. This watch is mostly original. I mean, like, really mostly original, but it's after spending a year on the ocean bottom. And it's back to life, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to break, and then we are going to go to the workbench, and I'll pull up and I'll show you some of the pieces that I needed to replace and talk about it. And I don't know, it's just fun. Just a lot of people were asking about this one, so let's look it over. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how everything came out, because I wasn't really sure what to expect, considering the damage to some of the outside pieces. But for having spent a year underwater, here are the parts that I had to replace, beyond the seals and the crystal, of course. The dial, the insert, and one of the click levers for one of the buttons. You can see that the tip is broken off right here. And that was really it. The rest of the movement actually looked fine. Where the problem was is that the water really snuck in around the crystal seal, and what it did was to deeply undermine and damage the surface of this original dial. Now, you might be thinking, hey, that doesn't look that bad. That's because I did a lot of stabilization work on it. But you can see right here, when I first touched this printing just literally just wiped away. It was just dust on top of the surface. And large sections of the black dial surface just came off. Big chunks of it just came off. I reattached them and then did some other work, but the owner said, well, let's see if we can go another way. He didn't want to save the original dial and keep it because of the damage. So I put in an original replacement dial. And so it's got the original replacement dial. It has a replacement insert. I mean, the original insert was just eaten up. And you can just see how rough that looks. So this is a heralding Yaboki's insert, because Seiko made ones are long exhausted. But the watch, the movement itself looked it just came out beautifully. The one click spring that failed, this is a junk main plate, so don't worry about that. I'm just doing this so you could sort of see where this stuff is. You're looking at the back of the movement now, so the dial would be on this side. Anyway, but there is the click spring. The buttons sit in these areas, and you can see, and they click in here. And these, for some reason, these springs are really prone to rusting. I don't know why Seiko didn't make them more resistant, because when I see water get into one of these movements, and especially if it gets through a button, these things will just be roasted, destroyed. And because these rust so much, the posts that they sit on will also rust terribly. And then if it's bad enough, the posts are gone, and then the main plate, you've got some real problems. I mean, one could, in theory, replace the posts, but geez, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. So that's not something, thankfully, we had to deal with, because this watch was in good condition. It is really amazing, isn't it? A year on the bottom of the ocean. Anyway, so there it is. Another one back to life. The only thing that was truly unusual outside was that the seawater, despite this being stainless, that there was actually sort of surface corrosion all inside and through the links. So I actually had to get, I had to use a specific kind of light acid with a toothbrush and a very, very, very fine abrasive on the back sides of the bracelet to get that surface corrosion off, because even my ultrasonic didn't touch it. But I did get it off. And there it is. There's no pitting in the case. Nothing like that. And the dial is a replacement, original dial, but the hands are original. It's even the original loom. All these hands are original. That's how well it lived. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, that was a ton of fun. So I'm looking forward to getting this back to the original owner, and there we go. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.